Ay. So let me get start with our topic. It's all about Dadaism. So in Dadaism, you will able to learn the trivia, history of Dadaism, what is Dadaism, the difference of Dadaism in other Dada artists, the famous artwork, history background of artwork, characteristic and art inspiration. So first, trivia. Did you know that the Dadaism is the coolest and strangest art style in history? In fact, Dadaism was just formed because of anarchy. The inspiration for Dada is direct result of World War I. It borne out disgust in social, political, and cultural values of that time. That's why all of the works of Dadaism is patama or parinig sa government. And the founder of Dada movement is Hugubol, along with his co-founder Emmy Hinnings, his girlfriend, the performer of the cabaret. And the next one is Trish.
The history of Dadaism. Dada was founded in Zurich. It started in 1916, where the First World War raged throughout almost all of Europe. Countless artists, writers, and intellectuals who opposed the war sought refuge in Zurich, kung saan they were able to create so-called exile art. Furthermore, Cabaret Voltaire is the birthplace of Dada. The cabaret was a meeting spot for many like-minded avant-garde artists. By 1924, interest in the Dada movement had ended, though its legacy extended well into the 21st century, like the influential modern movements such as abstract and conceptual art. Next, Jana.
So what is Dadaism? Next slide, please. Dadaism is artistic and literary movement. It is artistic because Dadaism was born in Switzerland and it is against art. Literary or literature movement because it is liberating irrationality and negation of cultural values in arts. So Dada derived from nonsense and irrationality. First, the origin name of Dada was rocking horse, yes, and etc. According to Richard Hosenbeck and Hugo Boss, Dada means yes, yes in Romanian and a colloquial French term for rocking horse or hobby horse. So many Dadaists believe that logic and reasons can lead people into war. So Dadaists rejecting logics just to embrace and favoring into chaos and irrationalities. So why chaos and irrationalities? It is that because Dadaism is all about making anti-art. Anti-art is by Marcel Duchamp. In addition, in the early 1910s, artists began to explore new art which is anti-art, and the Dadaists were very conscious asking about what is the role of art in the modern era or in the modern age. So as a response, anti-art became the answer. So last, Dadaism was intended to offend and reject. Dadaism was intended to offend by the means of rejection because Dadaists hoping and wanted to destroy the traditional values and culture in arts as well in the aesthetics because they wanted to create new art just to replace the old one. So Dadaism also means chaos and irrationality. So chaos in Tagalog is kaguluhan and irrationality is hindi makatwiran. So having these two depicts nonsense. So Dadaism depicts nonsense by the means of chaos, irrationality, and replacing the traditional values in arts. So next, Hill, please.
So what was the difference of Dadaism and other type of subject presentation? Okay, Dadaism is not just only an art that can be appreciated by the people. But whenever you do an art like Dadaism, you have only one rule for that. And that is never follow any known rules. Because Dada was only intended to provoke an emotional reaction from the viewers. Because Dada art is whimsical. Whenever you say whimsical, it is unusual or strange. Sometimes Dada has wittily sarcastic and downright silly. Okay, Dadaism is it can never be followed any known rules by others, and it's just Dadaism by itself. Next, Christine.
Dada artist, manipulating existing or everyday object. When we say manipulating object, artists use object as their artwork because Dada artists are known for using ready-made objects or artworks. Some of the artists that is famous in this is Hannah Hutch, a German artist, Lito Mayo, a Filipino artist, and Marcel Duchamp, a French artist. Next slide, please. Henry Robert Marcel Duchamp, or also known as Marcel Duchamp. He is a French artist and a father of conceptual arts and one of the famous artists of Dadaism because of his ready-made artwork called Fontaine. Next, Tiffy.
So the artwork that we chose is Marcel Duchamp's Fountain. He presented it as the fountain is a well-known. Sorry. Duchamp presented an upside-down urinal that he titled as Fountain. He signed and dated it as Armat 1917, which is just a pseudonym. He didn't sign it with his own name because he wanted to attack the idea of the artist, like what Dadaism intends to be. He also turned it as ready-made kasi it was simply an object na nabili niya sa isang plumber shop and itinaga niya as a work of art. It was the most notorious ready-made that he presented in an exhibition noong 1917 Society of Independent Artists, not because he thinks of it as an art, but to test what people would think of it. His intention is to change people's focus from physical craft to intellectual interpretation. It's also an intriguing concept to consider kasi nga it was just a urinal, and also it embodies a statement about itself na he believed na sorry he believed na it visually argues na yung story behind or yung background ng isang art is as important as the object itself. But ito sa society refused Fountain kasi sa tingin nila, hindi naman talaga yun art. They don't want to consider it, but later on, it has been described as the most influential art of the 20th century. So next is another trivia by Hannah.
Okay, another trivia. Did you know that the fountain or urinal of Marcel Duchamp is a porcelain he purchases in convention, and he buy it in sanitary where supplier and submit it as artwork by Armut. And there were also artists who create different version of the fountain. It is the Fractured Fountain by Mike Bidlow in 2015, a fountain mashup in Birth Modern Culture by Sharon Levin in 1991, a fountain CV19 The Pandemic. Next one is Rona.
Source of inspiration: imagination, creativity, and motivation. Because fountain art were presented as an outside-down urinal, and the artists create new thoughts about the object. You will imagine and create new thoughts about the object or opposite dun sa mismong object. It also motivate anyone to do artwork. Hindi lang kailangan maging maganda yung artwork mo, but as long as, sabi nga sa Dadaism, art can be anything. It's the artist's act of choice. Next slide, please. Characteristic: anti-art. Because artwork in Dadaism, like the famous artwork Fountain, was rejected. Kasi mostly sa tao, when they say art, it's about painting, music, dance, poetry. But in Dadaism nga, art can be anything. When the artists say it's art, then it's art. Next is chance. Chance because in Dadaism, it can give you chance to become an artist. Hindi mo kailangan maging talented or maging maganda yung gawa mo sa art. As long as if you think it's an art, then it's art. Nonsense and irrational. Nonsense because for other people, it's an art but with no meaning. They can understand what the object means. They think a lot of question in their mind. Next po is si ARCA.
Social critique. Arts for the art's sake, but Fountain became artwork because of critical perspective through which to critique society. Shock value. Fountain is to intentionally shock and provoke the audience. It means of challenging the public sensibility and complacency about the contemporary world. In addition, to think critically about all rules. Ready-made objects. Fountain is ready-made object to fabricated creating art from mass-produced object. Irony. Creating art that is anti-art is itself ironic imbued with an additional dark humor.
The next one is, to summarize it up, it was the first conceptual art movement where the focus was not on crafting aesthetically pleasing art, but on crafting things that challenge traditional art, the role of the artist, and societal issue. Dadaism artists believe that destruction is also beautiful. Destruction is also creation. That is why when you destroy a beautiful and make it worse, that is art for them. The idea is more important than the work itself. So the beauty, the looks, the aesthetic of the arts did not really matter because for the artist, you can be artist about your expression or perception. So that's it. That is the Dadaism. So this is the end of our topic about Dadaism. I hope you will learn about our topic.